Hi, Kathy here from kathyskutekreations. Today with week 2 of Stay Spooky Quilt from the Fort Worth Fabric Studios. This is the sheet that you should have downloaded. That's what we're going to make, and we're going to make 2 different kind, and we're going to make 4 each. Okay, here's the fabric. It seems like a lot, but we need all of it. I'm going to build one of the blocks to begin with. Take out your 5-inch square, all of them, and we're going to sew around them. So put the right sides together. So I'm taking the one with the least to start out with, and then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way around it. Then when we're finished, we're going to cut it this way and that way. So yes, it is going to be tiny when it gets done. And what I do is I always just put a pin right in the middle just to hold the 2 fabrics, and I pin them all, and then we'll just chain stitch them, and we'll have all of these. So before we get started, this is the book that I saw. It was on the Quilt Roadie website. I watch her, and so I got on Amazon to look at it, and then I found out that that's the second book, and this is the first book. So I went ahead and I picked both of them up. This book, I've already read the whole thing, gave it to my daughter. She gave it back to me so I could show it on the YouTube video. And it's about one specific elderly lady. And this, when I opened this up, I thought it was a continuation of stories, but what it is, I'm on the very first story, and it backtracked to a story that already happened in this book. So if you decide to buy them, I would buy this book first, because this is sort of like book 1, book 2, but that's not what it says, all right? Because you could go ahead and read this and you'll still understand it, but I like it when you got the history on it before you start reading it. Well, anyway, so we'll talk about the book. And I'm not going to tell you every one of the stories, but I'll talk about the one I'm on right now in here and kind of backlog it to this book so you got an idea what all's going on. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to start. I've got all my squares pinned, and I'm just going to do one after the other and get them over here, get them all finished and cut up and everything so I can get that. It's all called prep work. I'm going to hear a few different noises because last week after I brought my sewing machine back and I've got it set up, I have 2 beds underneath this table for my dogs, but the problem is that he has a bad habit that they don't even sleep in their own designated beds. Next thing you know, they're in each other's bed. And there's not enough room underneath this table for the 2 beds plus other stuff. And he was constantly stepping on my pedal. I want him stepping on my pedal because he does that even when I'm sitting here with my foot on the pedal. He steps on my pedal. So I don't want to be going that route. So then I took his bed out and I put it over here to the left. So every time he gets up and gets out, he makes a noise. Let's fix that. So we're gonna do just like we always do. We're gonna make 1 block. Oh, I might have, nope, that's good. And then we'll make all the rest off screen, because the one will take a while. So, because what I'm gonna do now is go over just a little bit. There we go. Doesn't hurt if you overlap when you're sewing this. Not a bit. Try to keep your stitch the same. So if you're doing less than a 1/4 inch, then you need to be doing less than a 1/4 inch on all of them. Okay. And now the only way that I find to continue with this is to turn this so I can start the next one, because I didn't start it on the corner the last time around. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this book real quick. So this has to do with an elderly woman, and the background is that she literally inherited her apartment. It was her mom, I think it was her sister, and so her mother had it in her will that if she died, the 2 sisters could have this apartment. Well, I want to think, but I'm not positive this apartment's in New York, because New York does not have big apartments. And this one has changed hands. The the people that own the apartments wanted to get her out, but they can't break her contract, because that was a really good contract her mom had set up. And so, of course, her apartment is almost 2,000 square feet, I believe, if I read it right. where a lot of the other places in the building are maybe between 300 and 600. Now she's on the second floor, I believe, of the building. And then I kind of wish that my daughter hadn't told me where she was in this other book she's reading, because I got that story in my head, and it's a really, really good one. But I want to continue with the one that I have right here that I read first. You know, at least first in this the blue book. So when her mother died, she got it. Her and her sister. So her and her sister both lived there. Then her sister passed away, and so she got it. And every time one of them passed away, for example, first the mother passed away, they tried to fight it. Then the sister passed away, they tried to fight it. And she'd never be able to find something like this. And based on her lifestyle that she lives and everything, it's perfect for her. She doesn't have to come out with any money because it's paid for. She just has to do her utilities, that sort of thing. And she's got her money. I don't know if she went to a financial person or whatever, but she has every cent accounted for. So she takes trips. And when I say a trip, she could be gone for 3 to 4 months and then come back. But she's frugal with her trips. She's not going first class everything and all that. Well, anyway, she's not senile or anything. There's nothing wrong with her physically or mentally. Okay? But she does play the old woman card, is what I'm going to call it. Anyway, she was going to sell off some stuff that her dad had, because he has a lot of old antiques and it's very expensive, and she has not changed any of the rooms. They all stay the same. In order to avoid heating any of these rooms, she just has them all blocked off. So I think she's only living like in one little area. So anyway, she was going to get this guy to come up. She was going to show him some pieces and find out what they were worth. Of course, now she's already done her research, so she knows what they're worth. It just so happens he's one of these, I guess, an antique dealer. But he's there in town, and she thought that she would, do that. Well, she goes ahead and she talks to him, and I think she took him a piece or two. Well, he's interested. Well, I guess he got a little over interested, or I don't know what to call it, but she kind of was leery of him. So she caught him. Okay, when he was supposed to be looking at him, she caught him stealing. He was literally putting him. I think he had a case he brought with him or something. I don't know. Anyway, that ticked her off. So she shushed him and got him out and told him she wasn't going to do it after all. I think this is how it went. I'm not even sure. It's been so long since I read the story. But the gist of it is, because she caught him, she got ticked off. So they're doing renovations on her building. And they've got all this scaffolding outside the building. So she thought, you know what? I think I'm going to trick him. So she was only going to scare him, nothing else. She went ahead and she does all this in the secrecy of the night so that nobody sees her. She watches, makes sure nobody sees her. Nobody saw her talking to him to start out with. And she goes up the scaffolding in, I think it was her dad's bathrobe or something. But anyway, she had opened the window to her father's room on the inside and cracked it a little bit, unlocked it. She goes up the scaffolding. She climbs in, and when she climbed in, she used a pair of her dad's shoes. Okay, so those have been in the closet forever. So she used a pair of those shoes. So she goes into the apartment with those shoes on, and she goes out that window with the shoes on. So she goes ahead and she sets stuff up the way she wants it. She gets out. She invites him over so he can look at some of the stuff. Then she goes upstairs, and this is, I think, when she caught him trying to steal some of it. And she thought, that darn guy, it's not bad enough that it's high-priced stuff and that he was going to make a deal. He has to steal from the old lady, from an old lady. That's what she's thinking. So she barges in on him, scares him, because, of course, he didn't know she was watching. And she pushed him or knocked him over or something. But the problem was that when she did that, she accidentally knocked him into a fireplace. The old-time fireplace that has that real pretty front wrought iron. They're like poles sticking up. And when she did, he fell backwards, but when he hit his head, for all of those that don't like anything graphic about DEATH, y'all cover your ears or stop listening for a minute. When he fell down, not only did he hit his head, but the darn thing come out his eye and it instantly. Okay, so then, after that happened, she panicked a little bit, and then so now she's thinking about everything that she's just done. Did anybody see her, talk to him, or anything like that? So it scares her, and so she decides to pack up and go on a little trip for a week and leaves him like that. So she goes ahead, she packs up, she leaves, she comes back, and then when she comes, every time she comes back from a trip, because she doesn't have anything in her refrigerator, she pretty well goes to, she has like a little routine where she goes down to a certain supermarket, she gets her breakfast, then she goes and does a little shopping, then she puts the food in the refrigerator, all that stuff. So she sits around in her house, and she waits, and then calls the cops. The 2 cops show up, and of course they interview her. They ask her a whole bunch of questions. Where she's been, how come she didn't smell it before now, the whole thing. And I'm not sure if she literally told them she smelled it before she opened up the door when she called them, or if she thought she heard something and that's why she was alerting them. I can't remember. It's been too long since I've read it. It's been over a week already. Well, actually, it's been more than a week. And I didn't want to reread all the stories. But anyway, so they go through the whole routine, and then they decide that they decide he had a partner, and that whoever he came with is the one that killed him. Now, of course, they don't understand why his partner would have killed him but not taken anything, because nothing was taken. So, of course, they take an imprint of the shoe. They try to figure out who has the shoe. They realize their foot isn't that big, and, But anyway, it does look like somebody came from the outside, and they did it with all the scaffolding. They did it at night. Of course, they got not cameras, but they have all the neighbors. They talked to them. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. The whole thing. So they let it go. So she literally got away with it. The next story in this book is the same thing. Every single story in here, she ends. Now that first one was purely by accident. The story and I don't know what order that Sherry's reading the book, but her order is, whoops, I just hit the camera there. One that Sherry's reading, a young lady who is, she's an artist, but she also puts her stuff up on Facebook and YouTube and all that, so everybody knows who she is. Her mom and dad gave her a trust, and so she has an apartment downstairs, which is very small. And normally now, oh my gosh, I cannot even think of my character's name. This is horrible. I'm going to go through this whole book and never even tell you the person's name. I want to say Maud, but you know what? That can't be her name. I'll be surprised if her name is Maud. Jesus. Oh my gosh, that's her name. Okay. So anyway, Maud doesn't meet anybody in her building. Oh yeah, she knows all about them because she listens to all the gossip. People talking about other people in the building. But she doesn't want to meet anybody. She stays to herself. Other than just saying good morning, that kind of thing. But she doesn't socialize. Although, people have invited her over and things like that. So anyway, this young girl, and I say young girl, I think she's in her early 40s. She's an artist, and she, as far as Maud is concerned, she's not an artist. She makes junk. And what she does is, I want to call it abstract, because she uses everything. She's not just like a person who would take metals and put them together and make something. She'll use plastic. She'll use Play-Doh. It doesn't make any difference what it is, as long as it's got a shape, she'll make it. Well, she more or less barged herself into Maud's house. Finds out Maud's got a great big huge place. Kind of like, she's a real pushy little thing. And then she gets to talking to her. Finds out a little bit about Maud, and Maud don't really want anybody to find out anything about her because she kind of keeps to herself. Anyway, so the girl kind of hinted how she doesn't need all that space and they could swap apartments and la-di-da-da-da. And Maud's like, oh, no, no, no. Because, you know, Maud, first off, Maud can't move because if she does any kind of moving and swaps or something, now she'll be right back to paying. And the people in there are paying higher rent. See, hers has no price on it, but everybody else's is paying high rent. So the girl says, well, and she's constantly inviting her to her apartment. And she's going, no, no, I don't have time. I can't see your apartment and all that. And the girl is very insistent. She starts bringing bagels and cream cheese up to her and all kinds of stuff. And constantly says, come down, drop down, you can come to my apartment anytime you want. Just drop in, just knock on the door. You're always welcome. And, you know, the whole shebang. Well, then Maud follows her social media, and all of a sudden this girl starts saying, well, it looks like I'm going to get a bigger apartment. And Maud's thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to do something and try to get my apartment. And she goes, well, I'm going to take care of that. So I shouldn't be saying so much. Anyway, Maud goes down, knocks up, looks around, makes sure there's nobody there. Because, you know, like I said, she does everything in the dark, the secrecy of the dark, and doesn't want anybody to know. She knocks on the door, and the girl goes, oh, you finally came down. Well, let me show you my apartment. Well, it was a teeny weeny little thing. Didn't have much furniture in it or anything. She gives her the whole thing, and then Maud starts talking to her about her art. And of course, you know, the girl's just gushing, and she said she's going to have a display at the museum, and it's going to go up, and she gives her a little, you know, background about her going to college. I guess she learned all this in college or something. Talked about her, you know, I guess Maud must have found out about her trust fund through the grapevine. I don't think that girl talked about it. But anyway, now the girl's not letting on that she wants Maud's apartment or anything like that. But Maud thought, you know, she's sitting there and she's trying to figure out what the heck to do. First, she was just going to go down there and meet her, and that's it. You know, just get an idea, get the groundwork, I guess you would call it. And then she turns, and there's this monstrosity of a piece of art hanging from the ceiling. And she goes, well, what is that? And it was a lot of penises. And first Maud's looking at it, trying to figure out what the heck it is. And then the girl tells her what it is. And she goes, well, what are these made out of? And so she told her how she made one out of Play-Doh. And they're all different sizes and shapes and all this. And what she did to cure it, you know, because they're all the same. And she goes, and then she's showing her the pulley because it is so big. She's got to hang it from the ceiling. And it's hanging down. And she's telling her, well, it's not done. I'm still going to add some more to it and all this stuff. And an idea comes to Maud. So Maud says, well, would you show me how that pulley system works? First off, I knew Maud was going to do something, but I couldn't figure out what the heck she was going to do. And then when she started talking about wanting to see how the pulley system worked, I knew right then what she was going to do. So, of course, the girl being all gullible and everything, she goes, well, here, I'll show you how it works. So she takes it and she shows her. And she goes, yeah, it's real easy. It goes like this. So she shows her how to bring it down. You got to go real slow with it because if you drop it too fast and this thing hit the floor, it would just be a mess, what it would be. Although in Maud's eyes, it was already a mess. And I don't know what kind of art this girl calls this stuff. I don't know if she's calling it contemporary or what. It's all in the eye of the artist as to what it is. So I stopped and I looked in the book real quick to find out what that piece was called. So the girl, her name is Jasmine. So she said that her latest project, which is that piece hanging from the ceiling, she said she's called it the phallus hanging. She goes, that's why I hoisted it up to the ceiling. I wanted it to hang like this, but it's also because I'm so short of space on the floor. And then Maud goes, I see. So Maud's doing all the hums and the like, ooh and ah and all this stuff as she's talking. And then she said that the actual framework of the piece was just a large old-fashioned wagon wheel made of wood using strong steel. And then she attached all these penises in different sizes and a varying appearance to the spokes. So they also made a range of materials. Like I say, there was bronze, there was different colored ones, red, green. Anyway, she says, Is that really strong enough to hold the weight of that thing? I mean, if you unfasten that rope, and you know, Ma's like being real timid, and she goes, oh yes, I bought it. It's an extraordinary chandelier. It's big enough to hold the sail of a racing yacht in a gale. And it's exactly what I needed because it's holding up considerable weight. Control the speed when I lower this wheel. So the shackle means I can lock it at a comfortable height so I can easily work on it. And then the hook is already in place. And there used to be a chandelier, a massive one in here. So the ceiling height alone is 16 feet. And then, of course, you know, Maud's is the same thing because she's just upstairs. It's just her, you know. So this is when Maud starts getting the plan. Of course, you know, Maud says, well, can I see it? And then Jasmine goes over to the radiator, bend down to untie the knot. Now there's only a trigger release holding that thing up on the ceiling. And of course, you know, Maud keeps saying stuff like, well, what's this one made of? You know, trying to distract her. And that's when the girl said, you know, Play-Doh, the stuff that the kids use in nursery school. She goes, you know, it hardens in the oven if you put it in there. And then she goes, well, which one is this? Do you mean the concrete ones? And she goes, it's pointing at her, and Maud goes, well, I'm not sure if that's what it is. And then she smiles at her because Jasmine starts working her way around this thing because she's trying to figure out which one Maud's looking at and questioning. And then Maud, as Jasmine's going around one side, Maud slowly goes over to the rope, and she just kind of edges herself over there. And as soon as she sees that Jasmine is lined up, she hit the release, and that thing fell on Jasmine. Jasmine didn't even make a sound, and she knew right then that she'd done it. So she hurries up and she opens the door, and she slips out into the hallway, you know, and she's doing this, the right and the left, looking down the hall, making sure nobody saw anything. And they're pretty well soundproof, this building is, from a long, long time ago. So she knows that nobody heard anything. And then she creeps out and then goes back up. She doesn't use the elevator now because she might run into somebody. So she goes up the stairs to her own apartment. And then she just sits up there and she waits to hear the ambulance, because you know that's what's going to happen next, because they're going to hear the ambulance outside. All right, this is my last piece, so let me go ahead and cut it off. So you can either mark them where you're going to cut them, or you can just literally cut them. I make sure that my blade, when I go to put it on there, is right smack dab between the two stitches. And I use the rotating mat so I don't have to pick that up and worry about disturbing it. And then I just cut each one, because we want these to be 4 half square triangles. Just like this. Then we'll iron each one of them opened. Alrighty, so these have to be 3-inch blocks. Take my ruler with the diagonal line, put it on, and you can use a block lock ruler also if you have it. I take off the least amount to straighten it out, keeping the line straight across the fold. And this will take off. You're going to flip it over, and you do it to the top and this side. That'll take your dog ears off for you. I put it on the 3 mark, which this has a little. There we go. And then all I do is trim it like that. Trim off of there either. Okay, and that's it. They all become 3 inches. If I didn't get this corner, did I? This edge right here. And they will all be 3 inches. And that's what you're going to do to all your blocks. All trimmed, ready to go, 3-inch squares. And now we're going to go ahead and range the blocks. Now I've laid out the first one that I'm going to do. And I know it doesn't look like it's going to match, but when it comes to these strips right here, you're going to put the longer one, because this piece is going 6 by 5. So you got to do your 6-inch here, your 6-inch there, your 6-inch here, and here. So that's the strips. Then your shorter ones, which are the 5-inch, go here on the sides. And you're going to put one of these in the corner, and you're going to make the dark face inward on all of them. That's what the picture's showing us. Now, to put this together, you can put this entire row all by itself. That's fine. You're going to look at your paperwork, because that would be one by itself. Now, there's different ways to do it, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do all of that, and then we're going to group. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew these two together. so that we can attach this one to this and this one to this in order to put this strip with these. All right, so we'll do these 2 strips, we'll attach these. We'll do these 2 strips and attach these 2 strips, this strip, these 2. This way we can put this strip connected to this strip, to this strip, to this strip, and then this whole block will be done right here, and then we can connect it to that. And then let me get a pointer, and I'm going to show you on the paper here so you understand what I'm doing. So we're going to put this here together first. So you're going to do these 2 and attach these 2. These 2 attached to that, to these 2. So then this would be done. Then you're going to do these 2 and attach this one and this one. So all of this would be connected, and then you would attach that one. Then when you've got all that done, you attach this one. Okay, does everybody follow all that? Now, that's the way I'm going to do it. You can do it any way you want, but that's the way I'm going to do it. All right. Well, moving on with my story, the Popo came. And they tried to investigate, but I tell you what, that little old lady is smart as a cookie, because they could not shake her story, and they had to believe what she said. And she got off. I know they suspected her, but they couldn't do a darn thing about it. Now, I want to show you what I did with this pumpkin versus the picture's not like mine, but that's okay. I have my pumpkins going inward. Actually, on the picture, if you look at it, the pumpkins were going like this, facing downward. But when I cut my fabric, I went ahead and cut it. So I don't think it really makes a difference. I mean, I wouldn't call it a mistake because I didn't do it their way. I've got to make sure that I'm making my, I want to make sure that this plaid is facing downwards towards the pumpkin when you put it on there. My dog has got the sneezies over there. And right now there's nothing to be worried about your tips or anything like that. And it said you could iron this any way you want to. So there's not a right way or a wrong way to do that. I'm adding my last piece. And I didn't pin any of these across the top. I didn't think it was necessary. And when you're cutting your half square triangles, if you're worried that you're not going to get yours cut, do a sample. You know, get your piece of scratch fabric and cut out the squares to start out with. Squares that we cut into fourths to make those half square triangles were 5 inches, but if you want to do a 5.5 inch, now I'm not talking about with the kits now, don't think I'm talking about with the kit, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're using your own fabric, instead of making that 5-inch squares for all those colors, you could do 5.5 if you've got it. That gives you more leeway when you go to cut down each one of these half square triangles into 3 inches. You've already cut all your fabric and you go, oh my gosh, why did she say something before? Well, don't worry about it. Instead of going around your square at a 1/4 inch, go at either an 1/8 or a scant 1/4 inch, which I kind of think is an 1/8. I'm not quite sure. But make it less than a 1/4 inch, and that gives you more to be cutting. All right, so now I'm going to be putting my sections together. So I'm going to start on my left and work to my right. So I took the orange fabric, in my case the orange fabric, and the ghost fabric, and I'm connecting it. I'm not going to pin it either. I'm just going to go ahead and just put it together. And now everything I'm doing is a 1/4 inch. So, and hopefully it'll be enough that my block's going to come out. These blocks come out the same size as our houses blocks last week, 12.5 by 12.5. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press it before I move on and put my half square triangles at the top and the bottom. Y'all don't have to if you don't want to, but I want to attach your top for your bottom. You can do the bottom first if you want to. It's just going to be whatever you want to do. I'm just doing the top out of habit. And I usually stitch my quilts with a 2.5 inch, but you guys don't need to do that if you don't want to. I was trying to figure out where did I cut it wrong, and what I did was I accidentally, I grabbed the top 2 pieces. I'm calling this the middle. Actually it's 4, but we're going to call it the middle. which are the longer two. And I put a pin at the end. And now I'm going to connect it. And the picture is showing that the ghost is going downward like this. If y'all can see it, I put it way too high. And then here's the long piece. We're going to connect it to it. And if you keep them in order, you kind of know, because you couldn't put the short one to the long one. It wouldn't fit. Uh-oh. As soon as I did that, I saw that my thread was not in my needle. I don't know why I did it. I guess I needed to... Let's see. Bring the needle up. I don't know how that happened. But it did. Let's see if we can get that to thread. Sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. And you know, on these automatic threaders, even where you thread it, you put the little thread up there, that still gets hung up because that gets little dust and stuff up in there. That keeps that from threading. Okay, so that threaded. Let's see, I can go through here. There we go. Start over. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect my ghost and my last two strips together before I attach them. I want to do these two together. Just going to be your preference, whatever you want to do. Wish I hadn't gone to bed so late last night. I'm tired. I get to sew when I'm tired because I make all kinds of mistakes. I don't know about y'all, but I could sit and sew the same wrong thing over and over and over. I mean, my brain don't function. I had to, my Oopsie kit is supposed to be coming tomorrow is what it says. And of course, it's part of today's fabric. And I'll tell you what, I was over there trying to fix one of the pieces, and it was short a piece anyway, and I literally have sewed fabric onto another piece of fabric to come up with the correct length, and it's that top strip. But then, I don't know how I did it. I stood there and I looked at it, and I'm going to tell you, I'm on the other side of that table trying to cut it, and for the life of me, I couldn't even figure out how to do it. That tells me I'm really, really tired. I can't even figure it out. All right, so these are all together, and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to iron them all open. I'm on that right-hand side doing the first two, the orange and the little ghosts. I think the ghosts, no, they're not. Okay, so the middle ghost, that's what this is on this pumpkin. One of them is straight up, and the other one goes the opposite direction, which is kind of weird because I would have thought that they were going to put them all in a row, like one go to the right, one go straight down, one go to the left, and that kind of thing. But of course, maybe they just hodgepodge put it on there. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could put it any way you want, and there might not be any kind of right way or wrong way to do it. I was just trying to follow that picture. That's all I was doing. I mean, it might not be perfectly the right way. I guess if you were really picky about it and you want to make it a different way, you could turn yours. I mean, it is your quilt, so. And when I go up there and I'm ironing these, I'm ironing them the way that they want to fall open. So however they want to fall, that's the way I'm ironing them. If you guys ever need to see something specific that I say in a video, like I'm telling you that I'm letting them fall open, I'll show you what I'm talking about if you're not quite understanding it. But I would have needed to show you on that last pieces I put together here. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I guess my bobbin's not connected because I didn't sew. Oh, it's out of here. It didn't sew a bit. All right, let's put it back in there. I don't know what happened there. It got out of whack or something. Okay, let's do her again here. Let's make sure she goes the right way. Maybe it needs to be a little heavier. Go ahead and iron this before I attach all these now. Now, after all that telling you that I went ahead and sewed it. I went ahead and I ironed it and let it, whatever way it fell, well, it was the wrong direction because now we have to nestle our seams here. So then I went and re-ironed it. And I did a lot of pinning. So this way I can pull a little taut because one of them is just a smidgen longer. I want to make sure it works. But I did nestle my seams. So I just went back up there and re-ironed it. This would be where that acorn stuff, I can't think what it's called. You know, y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm using the blue one, but it's not called acorn. It's something else that I got in a box. This would be a good place when you have to, now I didn't do it when I ironed all these folds over, or these seams or whatever you want to call it. I didn't use that. I'll show you here in a second what I'm talking about. Where's it at? There we go. This here, which I kind of call that a glue stick, but it's the one that's got the liquid glue is inside of it, and you put it on your seam and then you iron it and it helps keep it real stiff. Well, this is what you would use, or this is what, I feel like I'm rattling here. So when I first ironed this, it fell open and I ironed it open. So see how it's lifted a little bit right here? This is where you would put it on that seam to hold that down. If that makes any sense. Alrighty, so I'm putting that other seam on before I put that last white strip on the far left. But I'll iron it before I put that strip on. Haven't had to mark anything yet. I figured we're going to have to mark something here pretty soon. We just can't make a square if we don't mark something. Some kind of tip or another. I tell you, when I was cutting out the fabric, I sure was bending a lot of pins when it come time to put my little piece of paper I marked to my fabric. My pins must have been getting weak. About time to change them out. I'm glad I always have an extra package. Half the time I can't remember where I bought the ones that I like. I got there's one set of red, little glass red pens. I think they're little, let me see if I got one here I can show you. Back it up, see the little heads? So the red, look how much shorter it is than the other one. And I like the red one, but for the life of me, I don't know where I got those. And I'm down to that one little pin left. And it's a little bit sturdier than this pin. Just a smidgen, I mean, enough that you can tell it. And I'd love to get some more of those, but I cannot for the life of me find where I bought them at. Here's where we need to mark right here. Boy, I tell you what, you can barely see that. I use, instead of cotton thread, I got a polyester, really thin, that came with this sewing machine that tells you to put it in the bobbin, and that's usually what I use instead of cotton. So you're gonna mark it right on this side of where it crosses over. That's so that you don't lose your tip. Now, you probably can't see it, but I can see where it is. So I know that I'm marking it in the right place. All right, let's go ahead and sew that. And then you just go over the line. Try not to go over your pins. There we go. I turned the air conditioning off downstairs and opened up the windows, and By the time Megan got home from work, she said it was freezing in the house. I said, no, it feels good in the house. It's freezing in here. All right. Now here's where this strip goes on up here. And this is off center. Don't panic. It does go to the left a little bit. I'm going to show you the picture real quick. See how it's off center? It's not straight in the middle. All right. That's what we're going to be putting together. This is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it 2 different ways. So first, I marked this side because I don't want to lose my tip right there. And I'm going to sew this little piece. Then I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to sew the entire rest of it because I've marked it here and I marked it here. Now you can do it any way you want. You can take your chance and just go ahead and do this whole entire side and hope you don't get your tip, or you can do it like me. Think about sewing. There's not a right way or a wrong way when it comes to things like this. You get to do it any way you want. And this is the way I want to do it. And I didn't do it, my stitch any smaller or larger. Same size of stitch. And now I'm just going to start on this side. And I'll go over that stitch. All right, let's get this thing ironed and let's take a peek at it. All right, there's the first one. Let's go ahead and finish all the rest of them, and then I'll get them up here on this design board, or the wall actually. Okay, there is week 2 blocks next to week 1 over there. They turned out really, really nice. They look pretty. And I will see everyone next week for week 3. And I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Make a comment if you would like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. It does not cost anything. My videos are free. Alrighty, so see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.